Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm the Derek Lemaster.
This is Screen Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and you find out definitively there is only one Derek Lemaster.
There can
He's
be only
here.
one.
He is here. He is the Derek Lemaster. Isn't that right?
Damn straight.
How are you guys doing this lovely evening?
Doing good.
I'm okay.
You know what? I'm doing pretty good myself. Before we started, I checked all the equipment, made sure it wasn't going to come to life and kill me. So I think we're doing pretty good so far. My computer hasn't called me an asshole yet. So
Well, wait till you go to the ATM and see what that says.
It usually says 0.
I just thought that was normal. Like my computers always say that to me.
The transaction cannot be completed. You do not have the funds.
Well, that's because you're talking to other people, Lydia.
Oh,
Yeah, you're just talking to mean people. Like, oh man, this whole time I thought it was my computer, but it was really that damn asshole.
No, it's just my phone when I try to upload our podcast.
Yeah, yeah, it's that too. So, guys, before we get started into the Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive, which, guys, I have a lot to talk about. Very excited to dig into it because it is a special movie, this one. Let's get into the horror news. What do you guys say? Think so?
Let's do it.
Derek, you're muted. I edited last week's episode and you didn't get muted once. You had a record and then done.
All good things must come to an end, man.
That was your record. One episode. All right, let's start with this. We were talking about the Five Nights at Freddy's show, or the movie. We were talking about that recently, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was announced that Matthew Lillard has signed a 3-film deal for Five Nights at Freddy's. So he's going to be in a trilogy of these movies.
Wow.
Good for him, man.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I don't know much about that franchise, series, game. I don't know what to call it.
I don't either. But here's a little synopsis. Josh Hutcherson will play Mike Schmidt, the infamous security guard at the mercy of the haunted animatronics, who's at the mercy of the haunted animatronics every night he's on duty. Mary Stuart Masterson was recently cast as an unnamed villain in the film. Elizabeth Lale from You is set to play Vanessa, another security guard. And the biggest role has gone to Matthew Lillard, who will play William Afton, the main villain of the entire story.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
Sounds like a good cast.
Yeah, the cast is good. I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's is obviously lower, younger demographic than what we do. So that's probably why we haven't heard of it, because we be old.
Yeah, so Braden plays these games because they were like on the OS for the phones.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't think they were actually on like a game console. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I actually do not know.
I think they are now, yeah.
He gave me the rundown one time because I saw it on my mom's phone and it was like these demonic looking, it looked like teddy bears.
Yeah.
And so he gave me the rundown one time. I'm like, that's interesting. It's kind of like a horror video game for kids. I'm like, that's cool. I wish that would have been around for me.
Well, we didn't need that because we just went straight to the source and they gave us Freddy games and Jason games.
Yes, that is true.
They marketed Freddy right to kids, man. He was marketed right to kids back in the 80s. It was a glorious time. Remember we all had Freddy stuffies and shit?
Nope.
I did. Speaking of which, we went to FYE yesterday and Sarah had talked me out of buying this really cool Michael Myers pillow. It was it was in the shape of Michael Myers. And I could tell by her disappointment that I shouldn't buy it, so I just let it go.
By her disappointment.
I was like, man. was like, we could put this in Connor's crib. It'll be great. She did not like that.
The shade.
All right. J.J. Abrams and Leonardo DiCaprio. This one is perfectly picked for this episode. J.J. Abrams and Leonardo DiCaprio are producing a film adaptation of Stephen King's novel Billy Summers. It is being written by Ed Zwick and Marshall Herkovitz. Ed Zwick has done many things. If this comes out great, it could be a project for Abrams to direct with DiCaprio playing the title character. The plot is Billy Summers is a hitman who is looking to retire and takes one last highly lucrative job to feather his nest. The job requires him to embed himself in a quiet town where he pretends to be an aspiring actor. He sets up in an office with a direct view of where the hitman Joel Allen will be delivered to face trial. Summers, a meticulous craftsman, becomes more and more cynical about the mobster who hired him, and his skepticism is well warranted as things go awry following a completion of the job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one of those Prestige King things, like Shawshank and Green Mile. So, J.J. Abrams directing a Leonardo DiCaprio movie? I'm in. What do you guys think?
Thumbs up.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
All right. This is some interesting news. So the director of Terrifier and Terrifier 2, Damien Leone, is teasing an upcoming horror movie with Sam Raimi's Ghost House Pictures. He's currently writing Terrifier 3 as well. But that's interesting. I would like to see him. Derek, you've not seen either of the Terrifier movies, have you?
No.
Lydia, you've seen Terrifier 1.
Yes.
Yes. So it's interesting. It would be interesting, I think, to see him in another sort of a Sam Raimi produced movie for sure. It would be interesting. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Let it rip.
Let it rip.
That's my motto in life and for farting. So
that's definitely your motto for farting. For good Lord.
Let it rip.
All right, and finally, this last bit of news is a bit of sad news. Actors and stuntman George P. Wilbur, who had played Michael Myers in Halloween 4 and Halloween 6, has passed away at the age of 81.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a really good run.
Yeah, it's a good age.
He had over 100 television and film credits, spanning
as a stuntman.
Yeah, spanning as work. He began work as a stand-in for John Wayne in the 1960s, and he went on to amass over 100 television and film credits, spanning 6 decades.
Nice.
As a stuntman, he's been in like everything: Blazing Saddles, The Towering Inferno, Escape from New York, Poltergeist, Star Trek 2, Ghostbusters 2, Die Hard, the Halloween movies, like we stated, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Master, Total Recall, even Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And then as an actor, he was in Every Which Way But Loose, Pennies from Heaven, Firestarter, The Running Man, Ghostbusters 2, and Cast a Deadly Spell. So we've seen a good chunk of those movies I just named.
Oh yeah.
And a good chunk of those movies are classics in their genre. So good life, man. Rest in peace, George Wilbur. Always thought he was a pretty fine shape in Halloween 4. His mask is shit, but he was great in it.
Not his fault.
Not his fault. Not his fault. He's great in Halloween 6. The movie is shit, but he's fantastic in it, and his mask looks incredible. So you have that going for you. All right, kids. Picture it. It's the 80s. All right. Stephen King adaptions are in vogue. We have these great films of Stephen King. We have Carrie. You know, we have Creep Show. We have the Dead Zone, these classic Stephen King adaptions. And Stephen King says, you know what? I think I want to adapt one of my own stories. So he dusts off the short story trucks and he writes Maximum Overdrive. And he says, you know what? I'm going to direct this. If you want to do something right, because he's, you know, I'm tired of these directors changing my stories. I'm going to do it the way it needs to be done. If you're going to do something right, you got to do it yourself, man.
So
and he made.
Here's a question: is this like something he has actually said, or you're like kind of
editorializing here? But
okay, I gotcha.
But this is pretty much how 1986 Maximum Overdrive came about. Is Stephen King wanted to try his hand at directing. And try his hand at directing, the master did. Now, we all know Stephen King's a master storyteller, a master writer, a master of, you know, the written page, and a master of horror. But how is Stephen King as a director?
This is the only one he ever did, right?
It's the only one he ever will do. He had a miserable time.
I wish he would have done more, though.
Oh, boy.
Like the first time doing anything, you're not going to be like, I mean, it takes a while to hone your skill, right? And find like what your niche is. I mean, he already had a niche, but like, you know, really kind of like narrow down, you know, your skill set. But that's unfortunate. This is the only thing I ever did.
Well, I mean, he said he didn't really want to ever direct again. He considers it a learning experience, after which he never intended to direct again. So, I mean, we also know the stories. You know, we touched on it last week about, you know, Armando Nanuzzi losing an eye in this movie. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on set. Legend has it that Stephen King used to wear his wife's panty on his belt because it brought him good luck.
What? What? You're making no way.
That's a thing that I heard, man.
Oh my gosh! So that's a funny story. So Quincy dated this guy when she was in high school. In high school, you know, all guys are a little awkward, but yeah, he totally like took a pair of, I don't know if I should tell this, but anyway, I'm going to. Who's
too late now.
So he took a pair of her underwear and like put it on his his gear shift in his car, and he like kept it there. And she thought that was so weird.
You know why she thought that? Because it was.
Yeah. Like if I would have gotten my buddy's car and it'd been like, man, check these panties out. I'm like, were they worn? That's disgusting. Like, did you wash them?
Do you wear them? Is it like in case of emergency? I don't understand.
Yeah.
You're like, I keep these tidy whities just in case.
Yeah, no kidding.
They're in the backpack, but they're mine.
Fold them up and put them in my back pocket just in case. Back pocket's not the best idea if you shit your pants, though. So.
Oh my god. Anyway.
This episode's already off the rails, just like Maximum Overdrive, guys. I'm trying to create the same chaos that we see on screen and behind the screen, because this is a movie where, so Stephen King is great at pacing his novels. He's great at writing, you know, these great set pieces and these character moments. This movie's pacing is fucking weird. This is a movie where just stuff happens.
It kind of is. Yeah.
It really is. And I'm not saying that's necessarily bad, because I think this movie is a lot of fun, which you'll find out. But it really is a movie where just kind of stuff happens, right?
I never thought of it like that, but you're completely right. It's like a weird pace for this kind of movie.
It is. If I tell you what's the plot to Maximum Overdrive, you're like, well, machines come to life, and they circle this rest stop,
Yeah.
and then they escape, and you're like, oh, okay. And they tell that over like, this. You're like, well, no, really, the escape part takes up like it happens with like 5 minutes left in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like not a clear like this, and this happens, and that's the movie. It's like, well, some like some weird stuff. I actually had this exact scenario where I was talking to my coworker and I was like, oh, we're doing this movie, and he was like, oh, what's that about? And I was like, it's about a comet that gets close to Earth. No, it's about these trucks that come to. No, it's about Emilio Estevez. That's what I landed.
It is about Bill.
Yeah.
So yeah,
in reading in the opening, right? They open with like kind of an explanation,
a text scroll. Yeah, which is never a great sign unless you're setting up like a sci-fi movie where it's like, in the history, blah blah. So if you have to say, by the way,
Yeah.
Well, and in reading that, like it was so specific. They're going to be in the tail of this comet for 8 days, 23 hours, 15 minutes, and 12 seconds. And I'm like, that's so specific. Like,
Yes.
why do we need to know that? You could have just said 8 days.
Here's what he tried to do. He tried to give us some sort of ticking clock. But the problem is, there's a couple problems with this ticking clock scenario. Usually a ticking clock is if you don't do something by a certain time, bad stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
This is more, you've got to survive for this long.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make it this long, you should be okay. But he never really builds on the ticking clock. It's just there in the background.
Because the people don't know.
Yeah.
Our characters don't know about the clock. Only we do. So they're just living their lives best they can.
The girl, I think, mentioned it.
Yeah, she mentions it briefly.
She kind of is like, maybe it's that. And then they're like, yeah,
I don't know about that.
We got to survive for the next 8 days.
Yeah. Which, by the way, those 8 days go by quick.
No, they don't even get that.
It's
right?
like one day.
It's something. The start of this movie, guys. We'll just start at the start. So first of all, I want to talk about the fact that the entire score is done by AC/DC.
Yes,
that's a touchdown right there.
Probably the best thing ever in this movie.
It's just hilarious.
Makes me so happy.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. So we
Some
open
people
with
probably don't love that, but
well, it's definitely not good for creating tension and suspense.
Yeah, because every time it comes on, you're like, yeah, rock it out.
But the movie opens with "Who Made Who," which rocks. Yes,
it does rock. We didn't go into like our first experiences watching this.
Oh, you're right. We didn't. Let's do that real fast. You're right. We totally skipped that segment. Let's start with you, Derek, because you picked this. This is not your first time watching this movie, right?
Oh my gosh, no. I don't know when I watched this movie for the first time. I do remember it being on like Channel 4 and watching it there. So on syndication and cable. But yeah, I have no idea the first time I saw this movie. I do remember watching it several times as a kid, but I probably haven't seen this movie. God, man, I'm so old. Probably 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
I know, Lydia. I know.
Yeah.
Which means I'd have been 9 30 years ago. So I watched this movie pretty young.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
How about going into yours, Lydia?
I don't remember like how we got our hands on this movie, but me and my stepbrother watched this when we were pretty young, probably around 9 and 10. And I just remember loving it. Like we would laugh so hard. And I mean, it was like, I don't know. It was just so classic to us. We were like, this is the best horror movie. So every time this movie gets brought up, I get really excited and really happy. And I love this movie because of that. I just like loved it so much as a kid.
Yeah, I like you guys watched it very young. I watched it when I was like 4 or 5. I remember we had it on I don't remember the very first time I watched it, but I know one of the early times I watched it. We had it on VHS, like a recorded version of it. Like it was on a tape with a couple other movies. And I used to, because I was a huge Emilio Estevez fan because of Young Guns.
Mm-hmm.
Billy the Kid was where it was at for me. So I was like, Emilio Estevez. So I loved Maximum Overdrive. Never, ever found it scary. Always found it hilarious since I was a little kid. And then I watched it, throughout my life. I've seen it as a teen in my 20s. I actually think I watched this a couple years ago. I think I watched it a few years ago. So, I mean, it's one that I put on often because it's just fun.
Yeah, I've watched it a lot.
If you want to just like waste some time, you're like, what can I put in the background, or what can I put in to just a fun time?
Mm-hmm.
The Maximum Overdrive's one. So yeah, that's my experience with it.
That's funny because I feel like I saw this one before I saw Young Guns. So I was like, oh, it's that guy from Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah, mine was the opposite. I was like, there's Billy the Kid.
Yeah.
I used to love Young Guns. We used to go to the park and we used to have those horses on the carousel.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to sit on it and pretend like I was Billy the Kid. I was like, yeah. So back to the opening of this movie. AC/DC, Who Made Who, kicks in. We see just, random shots of shit happening. Because that's what happens in this movie. Just shots of shit happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the big sequence to open the movie is that the bridge gets turned on. And it's slowly raising. And these people apparently don't realize this as they're driving upon it. And it starts to flip cars. People start to fall off of it. We get this big spectacle opening. What do you guys think of this?
I love it. I think it's really creative. And I don't know that, it's like just one of those things that you think of when you see one of those. You're just like, what if it started to raise? I just think that's so fun.
No, it is fun. What do you think, Derek?
No, I agree. I do think it would be scary. I mean, I knew a guy, anytime he would go under a bridge, he would slow down and let traffic separate from him, and then he would gun it to go under it because he didn't like to be under bridges. So I'm sure this really flipped his lid. But and also there's a watermelon truck.
Yes,
that's the best part.
Just falling all over the place.
That's what I think is really creative about this whole scene is the things that are smashing into each other and there's so many watermelons going through windshields. It's hilarious.
It's just chaos, which is what the movie is. It's just,
yeah.
But we also get a little. I mean, it sets the tone pretty well because we get, the way this movie was marketed was that it was the most terrifying film from the master of horror himself. Which was a terrible way to market this movie because Stephen King has called this movie a moron movie. He said he tried to make a moron movie, a fun drive-in kind of movie. So this kind of sets the tone. It also kind of sets the tone of the characters in this movie because Stephen King's great at characters. This is probably the weakest characters, the round of characters Stephen King's ever had in a movie.
I mean, how long is this movie? Is an hour and 30 minutes, right?
Yeah, you don't get a lot of time.
Okay. So there's not a ton of character development in this movie.
Zilch.
And there are just so case in point. There's a romance that occurs during this movie. And man, it feels like it is the most forced thing.
We will talk about that. Yes, we will talk about that. That is a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up. We'll talk about that. Before we talk about that, though, it is funny because what I was talking about the characters is we meet these two people in the bridge controls, and the one guy's automatically bah, bah, bah,
yeah,
I'm an asshole, and you're just like, oh,
the one guy's picking his nose so hard.
Of course, the movie opens. Of course, the movie opens with King getting called an asshole.
Yeah.
The ATM.
Yes.
Honey, come on over here, sugar buns. This machine just called me an asshole.
This machine called me an asshole.
Yeah,
I love trying to get money out.
I love it so much.
So that's the kind of what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and that's what I think is like kind of lends to why you don't have too much character development, is because the characters are obviously exactly who they say they are. You know,
Yeah.
it's like there's
Yeah.
not much deeper than that. It's just like these crazy off the wall characters.
Yeah, so we switch
Except
gears.
the main characters.
Except there's 4.5 like more developed characters, and that are kind of the normal ones. So first we're introduced to Bill at the Dixie Boy rest stop, and we see some characters. We just see people, day in the life kind of thing. We're introduced to Bubba, played by Pat Hingle. He is the worst. He's like, you know what this star means, boy? Probation. Your ass is mine or the state's. Like, oh God.
Man, yeah. So this scene, man, is something else, because he calls him into his office, and he shows him his time card, and he was like, what was that? Estevez is like, so let me get this straight. You want me to clock in for 8 hours, but work for 9?
Yes.
Then he calls him a college boy or something like that. And yeah, I mean, that is just I would have walked off the job.
He's
right
like,
there.
you're on probation, boy. See what that star? So then Bill goes and puts his time card back, and he sees that pretty much everybody that works for him is on probation. So that's how he keeps him under his thumb. And we're introduced to the waitress at the diner, and oh boy, does she have a scene here in a little bit with some acting. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into, so one of the guys, what's his name? He gets blinded by the Duncan. Gets blinded by the gas, because a guy pulls up with the Green Goblin truck, which is the main villain of the movie, apparently. And he pulls up and he's trying to pump the gas, and it just stops working, basically. And he's like, points it right at his face.
Yeah, well, like one does.
And then just gets blinded by this gasoline. What are your guys' thoughts on this? This guy has a terrible time. Oh, Duncan.
Yeah. Yeah. No thoughts on that one.
I feel bad for him.
The less, the better. So we switch gears to meet our young protagonist at a Little League game.
Which is Duncan's son.
Duncan's son, Deke, is his name. Which these names are great, by the way. Duncan and Deke. So this scene is something, guys.
Yeah.
This is one I always remembered when I was a kid.
Yes.
So first, we get the soda machine. What do you guys think of the soda machine?
The best.
It's hilarious.
It's so ridiculous.
It's coming out with some force.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make any kind of sense at all.
You know what? Here's the thing. I'm going to go on this little tiny rant, and then I'll be done with it. Okay? This point in time, like, everything is completely mechanical based. Like, almost nothing in this movie is actually computerized, except for maybe the bridge.
Yep.
Everything else is like the trucks. They don't shift by themselves. They don't have cruise control on those suckers. So, like, how are they moving the gear shift?
You have to just look past it, Derek, because if you don't, it hurts your head.
I know, and that's like when I was like, man, how is this gear shift moving, or how is this coming out? Like after I got off my high horse and just was like, enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
But this would be way better, probably set in modern time where everything is computerized.
Yeah, because everything could be AI. Yeah, because it's kind of weird and silly that. Also, there's also the fact that some cars are possessed, but other cars aren't. There's really no rhyme or reason to it.
Their car is not going crazy.
The newlyweds car just works fine. It's just like I said, just. And why doesn't the bicycles? I mean, it has gears too. Let's just let it go. Let's just move on.
I do love that during this scene after the after the soda cans, here comes this freaking what is the big roller thing?
The steamroller, guys.
Steamroller.
The
Yeah,
steamroller
and
is
just-
the best.
It really is.
Throwing kids
God,
left and right.
That's a
Do you
good
guys
scene.
know the story behind the steamroller?
I don't want
No.
to know. It scares the shit out of me.
This is great. So the way they filmed it had to be trimmed because the way they filmed it, they had a blood pack tied to the dummy.
Ooh.
Because what Stephen King wanted is for it to roll over the kid and then leave this big dramatic streak of blood across the across the steamroller, which would have been cool. Great image. Well, what happened instead is when it rolled over, it looked like it exploded the kid's head because of where the blood pack was. So it looked like it exploded the kid's head.
It's too much.
Like some people were like, "Oh my god, it makes me sick," and the MPAA made them get rid of it.
Thank
You're
God.
muted, Derek.
Thank God for that.
Well, I mean, just imagine like you thinking it's going to come out one way, and then it comes out another, and you're like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" And then they make you cut it.
Yeah. Oh man, that's
Ugh.
rough. That's rough. 'Cause
Some
that would have been
things-
amazing.
Oh no. See, that would be too much for sure.
Maybe it's too dark for this movie. I think it would have
But
been.
we all
popcorn
watched
fun.
it as children.
I would have loved it.
You know, I mean, just seeing a kid get just swallowed by that steamroller, just mashed right into the ground. That was just, and the way they cut to it, it's very sudden. And I mean, there's just no fighting it.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
because
like-
it's like coming.
that's what's
towards
so
him,
scary
and
about
then the
it.
next scene is just like it rolling over his head, and you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
They cut very suddenly to
They
it,
had to get rid of the blood flood.
and to get rid of the fact that it was a dummy.
Yeah, the dummy looked pretty good, probably, but if you cut around it and then just had the exploding head, that'd have been excellent. But yeah, those scenes are great. Deke runs off. Then we spend some more time at the old Dixie, because we're introduced to our female lead. She pops in. Brett is her name, right? Brett? Yeah. Brett comes in wearing a fedora hat and riding in the car with this Bible salesman.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of?
Hilarious.
What do you guys think of this introduction?
'Cause
Another
he's-
one of those crazy characters.
Well, he sexually harasses her.
Multiple times.
Yeah, as he's driving in the car, and then it turns out he's a Bible salesman, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, she's trying to hear the radio, trying to get like because she hear, something's going on. She's trying to figure it out, and he just keeps putting his hand on her leg, and then pushing it to her thigh. She says something along the lines of, "If you put your hand on me again, you're going to be wiping your ass with a hook."
Yeah, yeah, that was great dialogue.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, well, I never." And then of course, the first truck comes to life and almost hits him. Then we get, in pretty quick succession, we get the knife coming to life and cutting into the waitress. And then we get this entire scene of the pinball area, the arcade area, coming to life, and this dude just stealing a bunch of shit and getting electrocuted.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this batshit scene?
I love it. I just love it.
Yeah.
The colors, like just everything about it. It's a very colorful scene.
It is very colorful. I don't know why he was like so like enthralled by shapes. He's like, "Ooh, square X.
Well,
I must
yeah,
touch this cabinet."
it's he just got too greedy, is what it was. Because like all the machines started spitting out the coins, and then cigarettes, and then
He had all that
coffee.
stuff. All he had to do was leave.
Yeah, he was loaded up, ready to go, and then he,
Wanted to
Double
touch
figure.
that arcade machine.
yeah,
Also, doesn't make any sense, but that's fine.
no,
Great time. And so then we're introduced to our yet another set of characters. This movie is big on characters, just small in development. We're introduced to our newlyweds, Kurt and what's her name?
I don't know, but she's
I was
my
just trying to
favorite
think.
character in this entire
She's
movie.
the best.
Oh, Connie. Kurt and Connie. Connie's
Kurt.
played by Yeardley Smith.
Yes. I love her so much.
She is something. So we're introduced to them. What do you guys think of them as characters? Obviously, you guys said you love Connie.
Yes.
Yeah, she's my favorite character in this movie.
Then you have Kurt, who I like Kurt too because he's
I do
like
too.
he has to put up with Connie.
Well,
and you can
and,
see he clearly loves her.
They're
Is what's
sweet.
great.
Yeah, they're so sweet.
Yeah, he
He's
neither
not a
one-
great listener, but they're sweet.
Yeah, and neither one of them seem like they're that bright. Because he's like, when they get to the truck stop, he's like, at this point, the trucks are already.
Well,
circling,
before
and he's
that,
like,
even
I'm gonna go for it.
before that, they run into a dead body,
Yeah.
and they're chased by another truck. That doesn't have anybody in it, and then he decides to doesn't think this is incredibly weird, I guess, and he's just they're smiling and hugging, and it starts again. They're like, "Oh, we better get out of here." I was like, "What?" And the last place I would go is a truck stop.
Yeah,
That's the last place I'd go.
I go to a park where there is nobody else.
Yes. And so, I mean, especially since your car's not turning on you. So they have to make it through this gap. And they do not make it through the gap.
No, they don't. Holy cow, they flip.
Bill runs out there to save him, of course. He goes to help him. And then old Bubba comes out with a goddamn RPG.
Yeah.
As one
They're lying
does.
around.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
around the corner in case anybody is curious where I keep mine.
He just has multiple RPGs. He blows up multiple trucks. And he's like, aha, buddy, got you there, Bubba. What do you guys think of this? All of this.
Oh my gosh. It's so much.
It's a lot.
wild.
It's so much. So much is happening.
And again, there's really no pacing to it. Because it's like all of this happens. And then for the next stretch, nothing happens. There's a long stretch of character building where
Bill
Bill and Brett apparently just fall in love. So Derek, you mentioned this. You talk about this part.
Yeah, so I'm gonna use a word that I used one time with a girl, and she felt stalked apparently. But anyway, I once told a girl I was smitten by her. That's a mistake for anybody who decides that they want to do that. Don't do that. And so she's totally smitten with Bill. She keeps calling him hero.
But by the way, let's talk about the fact that she just keeps calling him hero. She just met this guy.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, hero. Yeah, let's go, hero. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yes. Can you just imagine Stephen King sitting there I'm going to write a book about this. I'm going to write the movie about this. The hero's name is just going to be Hero for a while.
Yeah. It's almost like King's telling the audience, hey, guys.
This is the hero.
This is the hero. I want you to
The
know.
guy, in case you were mistaking it for the Bible salesman. But
Just
yeah,
in case.
she's just completely head over heels for, really no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Bible salesman's death. He gets his because one of the trucks crushed his car.
Yep.
That he loves so much.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes out there to starts yelling at the person or the truck. He thinks there's a person there. He's flipping it off, yelling at it because it's a brand new car. And he gets killed by Goblin. Goblin backs into him. So first of all, Bill's like, come on, get out of there, trying to pull him. And he pushes him out of the way and then runs straight backwards.
Yeah. He gets what he deserves.
Yeah. Guess the Lord didn't give him brains.
That's true.
So he gets smashed. He's still alive though. He's over there hollering throughout the bit of the movie.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our waitress's scene here.
Mm-hmm.
She has a big scene where she finally just loses it. She's
lost
over
it a
it.
couple of times, but they saved her.
Well, this isn't where she dies. This is where she loses it and she lives.
Yeah.
She goes outside and just starts yelling at the machines and starts telling them,
We made you.
"We made you!" Actually, I'm going to drop the clip right here.
You can! We made you! Where's your sense of loyalty, you puky thing? We made you!
That's all I can say about it is
Yeah.
this is a thing that happened. This is a take that Stephen King said, yes, perfect. Put it in the movie.
Isn't that like that's? I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's not good acting, right?
No.
It's bad.
No.
It's like actually
Yeah.
bad.
We made you! She looked like a South Park character. Her movements, it just
Yeah, she did.
it was that scene is the one that I always think of when I think of this movie. I'm just like, well, that was a performance choice, and King was like, perfect, print it.
Yeah.
We skipped over this, but I want to bring it up before I forget, and we don't bring it up at all. And this is like a total byproduct of the era that this movie was made in.
Uh-huh.
But like when Duncan, was it Duncan, the guy who sprayed his face with diesel?
Mhm.
When they're like in the office and like trying to soothe him, the wall
yes.
is completely covered with nudie mags. And
Naked
you're just
women, and it's not just like boobs; it's like chicks
full
with their
on.
legs spread open.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh man, that's a total 80s move.
Yeah, totally an 80s move. And so speaking of Duncan, he gets killed as well
He does.
because he wants to go try to find Deke, his son. And he's like, I can
don't
see
blame him
just
for that.
fine. And
I
so
can see
he
just fine. How many fingers am I holding up? He's like, I
Well,
don't know.
maybe I'm
maybe
seeing
12?
double.
Well,
Maybe I'm seeing double, but that's fine. And then he gets smashed by a truck. He just gets annihilated. And that's a pretty good one. He gets like destroyed.
yeah, he does.
So Duncan's gone. Meanwhile, Deke is trying to make his way to the truck stop. And we have this scene, which is, I think, one of the coolest scenes in the movie, where he's riding his bike down this street.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he just sees all of the chaos that has happened. We see a dog with a remote control car in its mouth. We see people. Apparently, I guess headphones shock them or something, because there's people that are dead with headphones, and the woman has a cord wrapped around her. But that raises even more questions.
I mean, half the people are just killed by like their windshields being rolled up on them. You know,
Yeah,
Like-
that happened a couple of times.
and those were like manual back then. You know,
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of, but I like the atmosphere of that scene. But it is
Yeah.
playing this really, so if we scored it with like some like, scary music, some like John Carpenter music during the scene, it probably would be real like intense. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like, oh man. Instead, we get this like down, 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 AC/DC's blues riff.
yes.
You know, the only part about this movie that I found kind of annoying is anytime that one of the machines would attack, they would do that.
It's
Yeah.
the scare sound effect. It is the worst.
I like it.
It's legit, objectively terrible. But it's,
No, I
it's
think you
fun.
mean it's really good.
No. Lydia, if I the next movie, if I put that sound effect in, you would have been like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, you're probably right.
Really,
You're,
that's
you're
terrible.
probably right. I think that I'm just a little bit too sentimental about this one.
Yeah, the
It's
sound
just
effect.
good.
The sound
Well,
that is the worst part. Yeah.
The
That's really
thing
bad.
for me about this movie is that it's kind of like a rock and roll cartoon.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Oh, it is.
and like that noise is like the metal guitar mixed with like the violin that you
It's
would
kind of-
normally get. You know?
They're trying to get like a psycho noise, but it's like
Yeah.
really just It's rough, man.
It's like the horror violins except an electric guitar.
You're like, it's like, so let's pause here for a minute. Let's talk about this. We mentioned AC/DC does a score. So apparently how AC/DC did the score is they used, of course, different songs throughout. They used Hell's Bells at one point. They used Who Made Who. I think they used a couple other actual songs. But then they also used stems from their recordings. So AC/DC just provided them with stems. So which is the instrumentals without vocals. So we get that throughout the movie. And that's what those bits of music are, is just stems. So the movie wasn't scored as you would normally score it. They literally put pieces of AC/DC music over scenes.
I mean,
yeah, that's how you do that, man.
it's like, I'm not even mad about it. Like, if
No,
this,
it rocks. It's great.
but if this happened today or like with another band with a different movie, it might not work. And it might not have worked in this one. I'm not positive. I just love it.
I don't think it works, but it rules.
It rules. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think it works, but it rules. And it's like just the insanity. Like I'm thinking about it. Like, can you imagine if I just recorded a bunch of guitar riffs and just popped them in? It's hilarious. Love it. Okay. So the Bible salesman is not dead. And he's over there crying. But before that, we get probably the best love scene in cinema history.
In cinema history.
The best love scene in cinema history.
Yep.
Bar none.
2 words. No, more than that. That you thought you'd never hear about this movie.
Yeah.
Yes. I love the line, "You make love like a hero."
God.
God.
How stupid is that line?
I don't know. When you're smitten.
Like, he really hasn't done anything heroic yet, I feel like, you know?
I mean, I
Yeah.
guess he like stood up for, tried to save Kurt, and I guess, but he's just hero to her. But what is weird is that Bill gets like this back room to himself. Like he sleeps
Nobody
in
else
his
gets a
bed.
room.
Yeah, everybody else is like sleeping out in the thing. Even Bubba, I don't know where Bubba is in his office, I guess. But when you think Bubba would be like, I get the bed. But nope, Bill just gets his back room to himself with the nudie mags on the wall.
Yeah.
Inspiration, I think.
Yeah. Keeping him going. So Bible salesman is still alive, and they're like, well, we can go get him. You know, we need to see if he's still alive. So there's a tunnel underneath
the sewer.
the sewer tunnel.
Sure.
And they have to, so he and Kurt decide to go. And this is actually a pretty fun scene where Kurt's like, saying he's going to go, and Connie doesn't want him to. And he's like, I'm going to go. And she's like, don't make me a widow on my wedding night. And then they go to try to save this Bible salesman.
Jake was comparing me and him to these two characters. He was like, that would be you if we were in this movie.
Jake's like, I would be like that guy.
Yeah, like Jake would be the hero, but I would be like Connie.
I, of course, would be like, of course, Billy. That'd be me in the sleeping it off in the thing. No, I'd be the truck drivers, the 15 of them that really don't have lines, but that survived this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about too. Is hilarious. So here's what happens. They're down in the sewer. What do you guys think of this sewer scene when they're crawling down? It's pretty fun.
I like how it's wooden. I always notice this about movies, is that every time someone's in a sewer tunnel, it's made of wood.
I didn't even
Wooden
notice that.
Wooden sewer.
It's real. Yeah, it's real. I noticed the first time I noticed it was in It, like chapter 2 or something like that, or maybe just like the new series, or the new movies. I was like, that's wood. Almost, the sewer's made of wood. Jake was trying to explain it to me. I was like, I don't think they should be like that. That would be a problem.
I think it's supposed to be rock. They just fucked up.
Yeah, like concrete or something.
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
like stone of some kind, but
Yeah.
it's just like a budget thing. And then
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
just
yeah,
some
yeah.
plywood will be fine.
Just put it in there. But they're crawling around in this piss water essentially, and then they get to the other side, and of course Deke has made it there.
Mhm.
The scene where they're crawling through there and a rat goes by and he stops and says, hey, I'm sending a friend back there to you or something.
Yeah, here's a friend. He's like,
That got me. That was like my favorite part. You guys know I love rats though, but
Yeah.
I
Really?
laughed so
What do you
hard that they
know?
just had to put this. They just had to like just have this little scene of him being like, "Oh, there's a rat."
oh yeah, they wanted to throw some comedy in there because
So
there hasn't been
cute.
enough. We needed to break up the sheer terror that we're seeing on screen.
Well, and so one of the fun parts of this movie is I love Emilio Estevez's laugh.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
right after he says it, he does that little
yeah.
Yes.
little laugh, which is
Oh,
great.
he
I'm not
is-
making fun of it. I love his laugh. It's
No, I
very-
do
It is
too.
kind of adorable. Like
Yeah.
I get why she thinks he's the hero for sure.
Yep, she just likes him.
He's got that charisma.
He does. He's good. Did you guys know who Stephen King wanted to cast in this movie?
Tell me.
You guys are
Charlie
gonna blow.
Sheen.
It's gonna blow your minds. He wanted to cast Bruce Springsteen as Bill.
Why?
In his AC/DC movie, he wanted to cast Bruce
Yeah, we
Springsteen.
know you're an artist, but we're gonna have to do
Wow.
that for this movie.
Because he wanted to cast Bruce Springsteen because he felt like Bruce Springsteen was the model of blue collar America.
Yeah, I guess Emilio Estevez doesn't quite fit that.
Yeah, so they were like, but then I guess Dino De Laurentiis was like, I want to have Martin Sheen's son. And they're like, all right, that's how we get it financed.
Wow, that would have been a different movie.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he would have been dancing in the dark the entire time.
I think we all know who it should have been.
Who? Tom Atkins?
Tom Atkins.
Of course, we'll talk about it. But before we get there, we've got to talk about how they get back into this tunnel. What do you guys think of this? Like this whole sewer section, really, like where they have to crawl back with the kid. And there's something that really I need you guys' help on. I think I maybe figured it out. But so they go back in. The truck barely misses them. It crushes the thing. And they get back. What do you guys think of this section?
Well, when they get out there and they find that the kid is being trapped by the Bible salesman
I will kill you.
who
Yeah,
has turned
people
into a
dragging.
monster.
Yeah, it turned into a fucking deadite.
Literally, like I was like, oh, there's the Stephen King horror. Like this guy is just a monster now. Like he's genuinely just like
He was always a monster.
he was
He
always a
was.
monster.
He was.
He's the monster of the whole movie. These
Yeah.
trucks just want a drink of water, and this guy is a monster. You know?
So when the truck hits this tunnel, does it collapse it totally, or does it just break it off and then the truck leaves?
Oh, I don't know.
Because they
yeah.
use that exact same tunnel to escape.
Mm.
But did they really? Maybe it wise at a point.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
That's what I was asking. That when
Good point.
we got to the end, I was like, wait a minute. No, well, maybe it drove off. I just wanted to see if you guys knew. You guys don't know the answer either.
Maybe the other
No.
trucks decided to give that truck a burial, so they pulled him out because they felt bad.
So
The house I grew up at had one of those tunnels, like on our road. Like, I mean, I grew up out in the country, like in the middle of nowhere, but we had one of those and it would flood occasionally. And me and my stepbrother found a bluegill in there one time.
ooh,
Not a
interesting.
snake.
Or
I mean,
an
I'm sure there were snakes, but
or an
we
alligator?
were were adventurers. We did not care. We were like, we have to catch this fish
A
and
ninja
we're
turtle.
gonna cook it and eat it. I don't think we did that, but it was like we were survivors.
One time. Didn't work out for my mom's trunk.
So we get the next we call out some of our survivors here. There's a little bit of a culling here because we're introduced to I just don't know how it works, but we're introduced to a truck that has a machine gun on it.
Oh yeah. What don't you understand about that?
I don't understand how the machine gun is firing.
Well, the same way everything else is working.
Yeah, non-logically. Gotcha.
Non-logically, exactly.
So this scene, we get the end of Bubba finally. He's done. He's killed off. And then after he shoots, another rocket at blows up another truck. And then the waitress just it starts going off and shooting a bunch of it kills a couple of truckers. We call out our cast, so it's a little smaller now, but it's still huge. It's still really huge. And then after the waitress comes out, what do you guys think of her death scene?
I was like, yep. Definitely expected that. It was
overdue.
Kind of emotional, but just because it was just, I don't know, there was something a little bit upsetting about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the acting that she had done before
the performance
was kind of unforgivable.
Yeah. You're like, cardinal sin, you're done. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So
I feel bad too. I shouldn't say it was that bad. I mean, it was a choice,
Not a good one, but
Yep.
It stands out.
It does. It's very memorable. It's the most memorable performance in the movie. That's for sure. Because, everybody else is kind of, well, I don't know. Connie's pretty memorable too.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to, the truck starts beeping out Morse code.
Mm-hmm.
Because it knows this.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
that doesn't make any sense.
Then Deke,
that's the part that doesn't make sense.
Then Deke luckily knows Morse code because he got a merit badge in it.
Yes.
And so they basically say, give us fuel or else we'll kill you. So we get this montage to Hell's. What do you guys think of this Hell's Bells montage of them fueling up the trucks?
Dude,
it's the best.
I don't know if I call it the best.
I think it's the best. I love it. It's 100 degrees out and they're all sweaty and Hell's Bells is playing. And they're all like
blisters on my hand.
And they're all cussing at flipping off the trucks as they're filling them up and just love it. It's so fun.
I mean, that part is fun. I love that. And like the trucks at this specific point are kind of at their mercy a little bit. And that's the whole point of that machine gun is to you need to fuel us up or we'll kill you.
Yeah.
They plot against his little ass.
Yeah.
I love seeing the incredibly long line of semis that have come from everywhere.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a cool image. And then that's also cool that they run out of gas. And then the ones like bumping up against him. First of all,
yes.
Fuck that as an actor.
Oh,
what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Like
I was thinking that. No,
that dude's foot slips. He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if he has a seizure and like punches the gas?
Anything could happen. That's just
They were pretty ballsy. They were just like,
reckless
like
is the
Emilio
word.
Estevez,
Reckless
he was just like, I'm just
is the word you're looking for.
Just bump me a little bit. It's fine. It's fine.
No. Oh my God. I was like, I was watching that. I was like, oh my God. Oh.
I know it is. It's like
that's the scariest part of the movie, just because
jarring.
of the behind the scenes could have ended Twilight Zone style. Like
Right?
it just was like, eek.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Isn't it weird that it's like the weird little things that are the scariest parts?
Yeah, because
It's
that was
like, The
I was
semis and things coming alive is not scary in this movie.
Well, I mean, and just the fact that we have a completely different perspective, and mainly because we make movies, and so
Yeah.
it's those things are super obvious to us, but like to the normal person, they probably wouldn't even think twice about that.
Yeah, exactly. You're right, and that's why I thinking about it as a filmmaker was like, there is no way. I'd be like, we're gonna make it look like it's bumping into you.
The liability insurance you'd have to have.
Yeah. Derek's thinking about the finances. I'm thinking about not killing actors.
But they didn't have that back then, probably.
No.
Well,
So,
maybe they did.
but you got to do. Film is forever. Pain is temporary. Film is forever.
Legends never die.
Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. We went full Sandlot there.
Man, we've done that before. Remember
I know.
when we just always would bring up Sandlot?
Well, it's happening again.
It happened.
Sandlot's making a
One
comeback.
thing, he is no legend. He's only a hero.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. You're right. You know who is a legend, though? Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
True.
Defeated Hercules, man. Ran faster than any kid ever ran with some PF Flyers. But let's get back to Maximum
No
Overdrive.
off pace right now.
Yeah, let's get back to Maximum Overdrive. So that montage is fun. It's also so melodramatic and hilarious that they're just like, Bill, you've been at it for too long. You might need to go take a nap.
Yes.
Like he was running a marathon or something.
I love it. He's like, I don't understand that how man gets tired or something. The way he says it.
They don't get tired. Only man does.
Yeah. They don't understand.
Wait,
Man gets tired.
I think we might have missed it. Maybe it's like right in this point.
It's
but
all kind of in this area. Yeah.
No, there's a point where he, the hero, and Brett are like laying down, and he's like going into this weird.
It's in this scene. It's right here.
Yeah. He
Is this
starts
it? Where
like
he's like, I had
tripping.
a dream that, if you were aliens and you were trying to like take over a planet, you would exterminate them with these, and it totally like at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
There's a callback to this, and you're just like,
Yeah.
"No way
It's
that
so
this guy figured that out."
it's
so
so
silly.
random. It's
Yeah.
like I mean, what he says some really random stuff after he gets like a little overheated and tired. He
Mhm.
just starts like saying some crazy stuff.
They'd wipe it out. They're the broom.
The
You'd bring
broom.
the broom. You'd bring the
Yeah.
broom. They're the broom. The machines are the broom.
I was like, what?
We're
What?
going to send a giant
He
broom
just
next.
said it with a bunch of charisma, going like this. He could have been the ultimate warrior.
The broom. You're right. Hulk Hogan.
When the aliens come down and
You're right.
extinguish this planet,
Dude, it does sound like an Ultimate Warrior
the
promo.
brooms will be the machine.
That is exactly, you're right. That's perfect, man. That is it. That is it. Stephen King wrote a goddamn Ultimate Warrior promo in the middle of Maximum Overdrive. Snuck one in. Oh my god.
That's why it didn't make sense to me. I was just like, what is this? What is he
See,
saying?
this
Stephen
is why you had to
King-
be a child of the 80s, Lydia, not the
I
child
guess.
of the 90s.
I guess
you
so.
guys,
It
I-
lost me.
I figured it out. Stephen King has secretly been, he was the one that was writing all the Warriors promos that entire time. He
Yep.
was doing it. This one's about rocket fuel. The rocket fuel in the iron. It's like, perfect. Yeah, you're right. That scene's hilarious. That scene's hilarious. The death of the machine gun car. What do you guys think of this bit?
I liked it.
Oh,
I
I
like
do too.
it.
When they drop the fucking
Grenade.
grenade.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it was silly, but it's like it worked.
Like when I tell you to run, you run. Run. And he drops it in, pushes the gun away. It
He
starts freaking
pushes-
spinning.
He's spins the gun around, and it goes right back to him. And immediately straight back to him.
So they blow up that car, and then basically we're just in the third act, just like that. Not only are we in the third act, because we don't have we're not in like a second act where where they have the problem and the solution. It's like he blows up that car, and then they're like, "We got to get out of here." All right, and they do.
Yep.
What do you guys think of this third act? The whole third act, them escaping the Dixie Boy and everything. What do you guys think of this?
Oh, what are they? I mean, what
it's
do they
kind
do?
of anticlimactic.
Yeah, like, I can't even remember. I can't even remember how they escaped.
Let's talk about the plan.
Yes.
The plan is that there is a place, an island, which I was really confused because I'm pretty sure this was set in like one of the Carolinas, right?
Yeah. Well, I know that I don't know where it's set, but it was
North
definitely
Carolina.
filmed in North Carolina.
Yeah,
It's set in North Carolina.
Beginning, like
Okay.
where it was, and like when they were describing this, there's actually a island. Maybe there's more than one, right? The only one I know of is like in Michigan on the Upper Peninsula. There's an island where they don't have any type of motorized vehicles, and so that's their plan is to get up
It's
on
called
a sailboat.
Haven.
Yeah, get on a sailboat and go to this island where there are no motorized vehicles. Solid
But
plan,
there's still
actually.
everything else.
Huh?
There's still everything else. Like hair dryers and toy cars and sprinklers and soda
9 days.
machines.
And you
Yeah, sprinklers and soda machines, the worst of the worst.
You know,
But there's no
arcade
trucks.
games.
yeah, no
There's
truck.
truck. So yeah, that is their plan. So they literally just kind of everybody crawls out of underneath the sewer, and the trucks just descend on the Dixie Boy and start like just running into it, ramming it,
Mm-hmm.
and then they set explosives, I guess, right? Because they blow up the Dixie Boy. The Dixie Boy like completely blows up.
I just assumed that's what happens when you run trucks into things.
Yeah, so I don't know how it happens, but the Dixie Boy blows up, destroys all of the trucks. All the trucks are gone, except for the Green Goblin. So Green Goblin's still alive. They're running this whole parade, by the way, of people, because there's all these other these other non-dialogue characters, extras, essentially, that are also there. And they run and hide beside a drive-through. And the drive-through starts saying, "Humans are here. Humans are here."
Because that's how that works.
Oh my god.
So it says humans are here, and Deke kills it, shoots it with the machine gun, and he's like, "I'm not going to need this anymore." You're like, "What? Why? Why not?"
Literally, it's like the most pointless thing. He takes all of his frustration out on this speaker box thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I'm not going to be needing this. Like, yeah, no, you should hold on to that. You should definitely just hold on to that.
Keep that close. So the Green Goblin follows them, and it's the exact same thing that's happened with every other vehicle. He shoots it with the rocket and blows it up.
Mm-hmm.
You would think they should have had a chase scene, and he had to like somehow get an explosive like into the bed of the truck or into the trailer, something, and trick it and blow it up. Instead, he just literally, they all start shooting it with machine guns, and then he just blows it up with a rocket. That's it. No more threat. They get onto the boat and they sail off, and we get another text to tell us about. What did you think of this text box, Derek? Because I know you have some thoughts on this final text box.
It was terrible. Like
So
it was
terrible.
about how the Russians discovered a UFO, and they luckily one of their satellites had a nuclear bomb on it, and they blew it
A
up.
laser. Yeah. Laser on it. Yeah.
Yeah, some stupid shit like that.
And then after the tail of the comet passes, everything went back to normal, and the survivors of the Dixie boy are still survivors.
The wording of the ending was weird. Yeah, because I was like, well, what does that mean? But it's just a terrible fucking end to the movie.
What do you think about this ending, Lydia?
Yeah, it's so strange. That is just so strange. It's a weird ending.
It's a bad ending, I
But
think.
it's-
Yeah.
It is a bad ending. I agree.
Yeah.
Because, I
It's-
mean,
It's so, like, just the text is so weird.
the text is weird, and that's anticlimactic. The final showdown with the Green Goblin, which is you building up as your main villain, the Green Goblin truck, is super anticlimactic because you defeated the same way you defeated every other truck. The
Yep.
whole third, it's almost like he was like, well, I better wrap this thing up. You know,
Yep.
we're getting close. We got to wrap this thing up. And they just kind of tie it up. The third act goes by so fast. It's like 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, not the greatest ending. And that is Maximum Overdrive. She also name drops it, by the way. Brett name drops the
She
movie.
did.
She says,
Oh, yeah.
the whole world went into Maximum Overdrive. I was like, she said the thing.
We did that too. As we're sitting on the couch watching it, we're
Yeah.
like, she said the thing.
There it is. Your moment of zen. So, guys, what do you guys think of Maximum Overdrive? Let's start with you, Lydia.
I
What
love
do you
it.
think?
I just do, okay? Don't ask me why, I just do. It's sentimental, it's fun, it's rock and roll. I mean, it's just silly. It doesn't even have to make sense at all to be as good as it is. Like, some of the characters are stupid, some of them are really good, some of them are fun. You know, like even some of the stupid ones are good. You know, I don't know. It's just a wild ride. I don't know what to. I
but
don't know what
would
to
you
rate it.
rate it? Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know because it's so
Because
sentimental.
as a movie,
As a movie, okay, let me think.
and of course, then you throw in your opinion. I was thinking about this all day. That's why I'm having you guys go. Because I was thinking about what I was going to rate this thing all day.
Mm-hmm.
I think I kind of know, but
I'm gonna rate it pretty high, I think, actually, because because somebody has to, and it's got to be me. I just love this dang movie. Okay, I'm gonna give it an 8.
oh my god, that's way
Guys,
high.
I think the intention of this movie, like you said, it was advertised wrong, that it was the scariest movie by the scariest director, scariest book writer, whatever. It's not that. You know, it's something special. It's just
It
special.
is special. I'll agree that it's special.
I think it's good in its own way. Okay. And I think it's an 8 for me.
Just for reference, last week you gave The Autopsy of Jane Doe 7.5.
And I stand by that. Not
Derek,
as sentimental.
what do you give Maximum Overdrive? What are your thoughts?
Okay. So I think there are 2 scenarios for this movie. The perfect scenario. You are with your friends, you've had a couple of beers, you've ordered some pizza, and you sit down and you watch this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think with a buzz and your friends, so you can talk about it and make fun of it, this movie is a solid 8. I think that there's the other scenario where you sit down and watch it critically and peel apart all the logic and anything like that, and you give this movie like a 4, right?
Right.
And then there's somewhere in the middle. I'm going to give this movie a 6 because I know that if we had watched this together, Jamie and Lydia, and just had a good old time with it, it would have been so much fun. And not only that, like the nostalgia of watching this as a kid and, all the things it reminds you of. I'm going to give this movie a 6, and I'm going to stick by that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you are, because that's what I was going to give it to. After I went through everything, a 6 is what I settled on, because I was like, the movie's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun watching this. But, and I don't care about the logic fallacies and all that. I'm in for the ride. My problem is with the pacing of the movie. That's where the problem is for me, because there's those slow, dull sections in the middle of this thing, and then there's just the really terrible, fast ending. I think if this had a crackerjack ending, if this ending, the ending went to 10, I would have been like, yeah, I'm going to throw all that other stuff. Doesn't matter. The ending, this was a crackerjack. But the way the ending of the ending of this movie is a wet fart. It's just because you're like, there's no ramp up momentum. It's just kind of like, dun, 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 meow.
Yeah.
It just
like
drops off.
When you can sit back and you've seen this movie enough times and you can almost picture how things could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
Like certain little things, this movie could have been so legendary.
Yeah, now, having said that, like I said, 6 for the movie for me, because I do love it. I think it's fun. I own the movie. So I like it enough that I bought it on fucking Blu-ray. So there you go. And I've watched it so many times, so I obviously like it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something that keeps me coming back to it. Like Derek said, there's 2 different scenarios, but I give it a solid 6 because I have such a good time with it. It is not even close to the worst movie we've watched for this podcast.
No.
Right.
It's nowhere in the bottom section at all. So I know some people hate this movie, think it's terrible.
Yeah.
And some people love this movie and think it's like the second coming, which it's not. But I'll tell you what is a 10 out of 10, guys, is the trailer for this movie. You guys ever seen the trailer for this?
I know I have, yeah. It's been a long time.
It
It's
might have played
hilarious.
before I watched it.
It's literally Stephen King standing in front of a semi, looking at the camera saying,
Oh,
I'm going to scare the hell out of you.
yes.
The best trailer. Love it. Love it. 10 out of 10 for the trailer. It's the best.
I do wonder if like someone were to watch this and be scared, or if do you guys think that this movie is just not scary at all? Besides like
Yes.
the weird little things that we all kind of just have in our personalities to be
Yeah.
afraid of.
No, there's nothing scary about this movie because there's no tension. Because the film doesn't create tension.
Right.
Now,
Yeah, the tension. And that's a lot of the music is just
The music is a big
cartoony
part of
rock
it.
and roll, right?
Yeah, just rocks. So the
Yeah.
movie's a blast and breeze. You get AC/DC, you're all in. But yeah, it just lacks tension. And the bits where we do get tension, like the scary things, like kids being mowed down with stuff and
Mhm.
lawnmowers going and all that stuff is scary in theory. It's just the execution. It's not scary. You're just kind of like, it's like you said, it's hard to be scared when AC/DC's in the background going down, dum, bam,
Yeah.
dum, bam, dum, bam, and you're like,
It's a strange vibe. It's a totally different vibe.
yes. So that is Maximum Overdrive. We like
Nope.
it. Yeah, it is. That's Maximum Overdrive.
Actionization, man. We gotta throw a boy in there.
I was getting to that,
Oh,
Derek.
I jumped the gun.
Yes, you did. That's why I
He
said
said, nope.
that was Maximum Overdrive. Now it's time, as Derek so eloquently put it, to actionize this movie.
Thrill me. Thrill me. Thrill me. Thrill me. Thrill me.
Detective, thrill me.
Guys, who would Tom Atkins play in this? We already said it, right?
The hero.
He would be the hero. Can you imagine this movie with Tom Atkins in the lead?
How good. How good.
So this is like right in his prime too.
Yeah.
You know,
God!
this is close to
And, like,
Halloween.
The girl could still be
And
that
Halloween,
age too, and it would
fall.
still
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Dude, I love you, Emilio, but Tom Atkins as the lead in this
As the
movie, this movie
hero.
would have been a fucking 10, guys.
Yes.
We would have overlooked everything and been like, man.
That would have been the first movie that we would have done on this podcast. It wouldn't have been
Yes.
season 3. It would have
That's
been
correct.
episode 1.
Yes. That's
Season
right.
1.
Season 1. Pilot, baby.
Yeah.
Pilot, baby. You think so too, Derek? Yeah.
That would have been the first one, or it would have been a much higher.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, you know what? I think so. I do like Emilio. I hate that you know, he kind of gets thrown out of this one, but I mean, it's true.
You can't argue logic
True.
unless you're writing Maximum Overdrive.
Then you throw that shit out the window.
Gone.
Yeah. Thank God they casted Yardley Smith though.
Yeah, she's great. All right, guys. So that is this week's episode. Do you have a story? Quick story, Derek. You said something about a trunk.
Me and my cousin, I think it might have just been me and him, maybe one of his brothers. So Michael Swavey and maybe Josh was with us. We were at the reservoir, right? And the water's real low, and we're just like, these geese were randomly on the shore. So we like go into the water and go around, and we're like, man, well, let's try and catch one of these. So we come out of the water, like running at these geese, and one of them doesn't take off. It like starts running, and it gets up to the bank, and it just like falls over. Well, it was playing dead, right? It was a defense mechanism. And so like, I didn't know that. So like, I go and like pick this thing up, then it starts like going crazy. I put this in my mom's trunk of the car that we drove out to the reservoir. And I'm like, man, I'm going to take this home and we're going to have goose for dinner. I don't know. Right. So like, I get this thing home, and I get it out of the trunk, and my mom's like, what are you? I mean, she goes off on me. What are you doing? We lived like 2 blocks away from the river bank. She's like, you take it to the riverbank and you let it go. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I walk this goose over, and I get to the road that like right across the road is the riverbank. And here pulls up to the stop is Mr. Hudson, who's a math teacher. And he's looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to climb over.
You're like, I caught a goose.
Yeah, I caught a goose. And so I did climb over the bank and took it, and I let it go. But yeah, you know, I did once catch a goose.
Wow.
Interesting. That's an interesting story.
Pooped all over in my mom's trunk.
Well, yeah. When you shit yourself, somebody threw you into
Yeah,
a trunk.
I mean, pretty much I was going to try and eat the thing, but yeah, so I had to clean that up. That was pretty disgusting.
Great story.
Point taken. Goose, point taken.
All right. Next week, it's my pick. And we are going to do, let's see, Evil Dead 2. Sam Raimi's classic 1987 masterpiece, Evil Dead 2. So you can find Evil Dead 2 streaming on... I should have looked that up first.
The reason we all sound so excited right now is because we kind of already knew.
We did. But here we go. Evil Dead 2 streaming. You can find it on YouTube, Apple TV, Vudu, Google Play, Redbox, and Amazon Prime Video. Or if you're like me, you just own it 7 times. So you never run out of time watching that movie. So next week, we'll be doing Evil Dead 2. You can follow us online. You can follow us on Twitter at @TheDoglyMaster. Follow Lydia at Lydia Spooking. Follow me at Racket. You can find us at Facebook at HiLa Productions. You can find us on Instagram at Scream Bloody Movies. And you can find us at our website, HiLaProductions.com. Be sure to like, share, and comment down below your favorite Stephen King adaptation. What do you think of Maximum Overdrive? And do you think that the machines are really out to get us? If you do, then probably don't comment again.
I'm going to be on the internet, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, seek help. All right, guys, if there's nothing else for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I am Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.